First Things First is sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to First Things First. Yes, Wilds, your hair looks amazing. I would have gone with bangs, but pulled back. I like it just as well. Nick Wright, Brandon Marshall, and the aforementioned Kevin Wilds. And speaking of Wilds, what a grudge match in the AFC East last night with your Patriots, buddy, and those tough winless Jets. I mean, that was a game.
Relax, Jenna.
Let us start there. Jets and Pats. New England needed a win to stay alive in the playoff hunt. Jets needed a loss to stay alive in the hunt for Trevor Lawrence. Jets in command through 3 quarters, but Cam and the Pats scored the final 13 points to escape. Yes, I use that word, escape, with a 30-27 win and avoid total disaster. Jets remain a disaster at 0-9. Here's Cam Newton after the win.
I'm more relieved not having the feeling of losing, because there's a lot of people in that locker room, that deserves, more than what we have been showing. A lot of our fans have been let down with the lackluster performances of myself, amongst other people, but I only can speak for myself, and I will. But yet, this is a game that we can build off of, and we will build off of it, and that's the good thing.
Nick, look, a win is a win in the NFL, and everyone goes towards your record. But maybe you think the Patriots could use this particular win as a way to kind of kickstart the next half of their season, this potential playoff run?
Well, their playoff chances are slim. They're not quite to none. And the win last night, I suppose, kept them alive. But it obviously was a less than resounding victory against a truly awful opponent. And if you're a Pats fan, the one thing this year that you've been able to hang your hat on is your secondary. And the secondary let Joe Flacco play like it was the 2011 playoffs. So that's none of that is good for New England. But Brandon, to me, the issue for the Patriots is this. You weren't yet on the show when I laid out my full game-by-game preseason picks. I picked the Patriots to start 4-6 and make the playoffs, because I thought they could pile up some wins at the end of the year. And I think they are going to start 4-6, because I think they'll lose next week to Baltimore and then beat Houston. What I didn't factor in there was that the Buffalo Bills were going to start 7-2. And so now the question is, what's the worst case scenario for Buffalo? 9 wins? What's the best case scenario for New England? 9 wins? When the other team's worst case scenario lines up with your best case scenario, Brandon, you're still alive. But I don't think yesterday was going to make people feel overly optimistic given their performance.
Yeah, I mean, I would love for this to be the case. And I was torn last night watching the game because I'm cheering for my Jets. Obviously, that's my team. But I also was cheering for Cam Newton. Last week, we talked about how important Cam Newton getting this team back on track is, not only for the Patriots, but for Cam Newton's career. So I was torn on who to actually root for. But the reality is, Nick, this is over for the Patriots. When you look at the AFC, you got Buffalo, Miami, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cleveland, Tennessee, Indy, KC, Las Vegas. There's no chance for them to creep into the playoff discussion. I mean, statistically and from a number standpoint, can they still get it done, Kevin? No. But if you want to put blame on anyone, you can look at your quarterback, Kevin, but also you got to look at Robert Kraft and also Bill Belichick, the GM, because they haven't gotten it done this year.
No, I will not look at either of those people. And when I do, I will look at them with admiration. There is a small chance we make the playoffs, but I got to start rooting against the Bills, and I got to root against Tua. It's just not the way I want to live my life, Nick. But here's the silver lining. I feel like we're already in the playoffs. Last night, I'm up there cheering at midnight for a field goal to beat the terrible Jets. I'm like, we're in the playoffs. This is fantastic. I've never had this before. Jenna, this is what it's like the last 20 years of my life, because I didn't grow up like this as a Patriots fan. It was just kind of always, and Nick, you're going through this right now with the Chiefs. It's just like a romantic comedy. It's like, there's some bumps along the way. Oh no, well, they might break, but then it all works out in the end. And now it's like an action movie. I got no idea what's going to happen. There's all sorts of dangers jumping. You know what, Nick? On the last drive, I'm like, we might just fumble the ball and lose the game. It's so exciting.
Well,
I've never been in this spot with like losers like you, Nick, and the Chiefs. This long history of losing. I love it.
Losers like me. That's funny. Wilds, you know who also is experiencing that for the first time in a long time, or for some guys in forever? The Patriots. Brandon, did you notice how they celebrated last night? I cannot remember the Patriots and even Belichick showing emotion on the field goal, celebrating a win in the regular season, much less a win against the most poorly coached team arguably in the history of the NFL. And so I can't. I thought it was fascinating. Like, Belichick gave the fist
Watch
pump.
Cam Newton.
You never see that from him. Cam, I got it from Cam a little bit because of the relief, but the way the Patriots celebrated here against the Jets was, to me, almost a concerning sign of where they know their season is, Brandon.
Well, 100%. I actually noticed that too. And Cam Newton was pushing guys off of him like, this is the Jets. He wanted to celebrate.
Yeah.
He gave a few fist bumps. He smiled a little bit, then really quickly.
And then he composed himself.
This is the Jets. This is the Jets.
Yep.
Loved it.
All right, well, speaking of the Jets, let's jump across and talk about the Jets. Joe Flacco in for Sam Darnold last night. Almost won this game for New York, although Jets fans probably happy with the end result. A step closer to Trevor. Jets, the only winless team, followed by Jacksonville. They're at 1-7. Then you got that NFC East contingent, Cowboys, Giants, Washington, at 2 wins to round out the top 5. Back to you, Nick. Should Jets fans be happy this morning?
Well, I think if I were a Jet fan, God forbid. Oh, my God. I put myself in that position for a moment. That'd be terrible.
You're still a Chiefs fan.
I would be happy. No, the Chiefs were never the Jets. Chiefs had most wins of any team in the 90s. Look it up, America. Chiefs were never the Jets.
That's so long ago.
I would be happy they lost.
Back to the 90s?
The 90s. Made the playoffs a couple times in the aughts as well. Stop it, guys. We're not talking about the Chiefs. I'd be happy I lost because of the Trevor Lawrence factor. I, though, have a question for anybody. I want an answer to this so much I'll pay for it if anyone can get me documented evidence. Okay. Who called the Flacco bomb? Up 7. Patriots just had a 17-play, 9-minute field goal drive. You're in the 4th quarter, and this is a brilliant play call if you want to lose. But ostensibly, the people calling plays are trying to somehow save their jobs. What do they care about Trevor Lawrence? They're never going to get to coach him. The only time Adam Gase is going to get to meet Trevor Lawrence is if he's taking his orders somewhere. So it's not going to happen. So, like,
That's unfair.
Someone explain. Oh, no, it's not unfair. There's no level of unfairness.
I mean,
someone explain this play call to me. Explain that. So Flacco just went rogue?
30%.
So Flacco just went rogue, Brandon?
No, it's not go rogue. It's like he has an option. 30% of the time, he's going to take the shot. This is a shot play. It's not a bad call. So when you look at it, look at the guy in the flat. 70% of the time is supposed to go to that guy right there. He can run for 15 yards. But look, to answer the question, if I'm a Jets fan, and I am, this win does nothing for you. We actually have a resident Jets fan on our show. He's a producer. I don't want to call him out. And I was talking to him this morning, and he said, look, I woke up this morning. I didn't finish the game because I had to get up at 3 in the morning. You called him out. You threw him under the bus. Yep. Sam Pepper. I asked Sam this morning. I said, Sam, you tell me, what's your thoughts on this as a Jets fan? And you've been following this team forever. And he said, I woke up happy to see the score this way. And I'm like, well, Pep, for me as a player, I'm actually pissed off because, I want to win. This doesn't feel good. So I think it's this battle between fan and player. Fan, I don't want to win. I want the quarterback. Player, I want to win. I don't care who you're drafting next year.
Keep in mind, it's just a shot at the quarterback. Go ahead, Wilds.
Oh, sorry. I want Nick's take on this real quick. I thought this was bad for Sam Darnold because the Jets stink seems to wash off everybody else. It's like, oh, Le'Veon Bell's actually good. Jamal Adams is actually good. And I was like, sure, Sam Darnold's actually good. But to see Flacco get in there and really move the ball, I think that the idea of like maybe we keep Sam Darnold is dead after last night.
I think that's absolutely right, and it hurts Darnold because now they're more likely to get Lawrence. I do, though, Jenna, I have to acknowledge what just happened on the show. It's in a generation of embarrassing moments for Jet fans. I don't know that anything has ever been more embarrassing or a bigger indictment than Brandon's brain just assigning it is such a badge of dishonor being a Jet fan. I won't say Pepper's name out of respect for him. Like Pepper showed up naked to the Zoom. Like we got a producer today who forgot to put pants on. We got a producer, I'm not going to say who he is, who's
It's a
he's
tough
a Jets
morning
fan.
for Jets fans.
Well, I didn't know if he wanted me to
We
give
won't
his
say his
take.
name. No, Pep. His name's Pep. He's a Jets, Mets, Knicks fan.
Sam
and Wisconsin
Pepper,
sports.
we
It
love
stinks.
you.
Poor Pep.
Our condolences
You guys are bad
for being a
teammates.
Jets fan. You were born into it. We are learning more about why the Bucs laid an egg Sunday night to the Saints. Fingers are starting to point. We'll have that story in what direction next. First things first.
Wilds, I was too